What's up everybody, I am Mongoose, you are awesome, and this is my review of Paragon version 40. So, we'll start off with the hero updates, and of course, the first hero update is the new hero, Phase. She gets a telekinetic link, pretty much just creates a link between her and a targeted hero that allows her to pull them around, and gives them a little bit of health regen, actually a lot of health regen. So that's a pretty cool ability. I think you can use it to pull somebody up to you to assist, but I think more than likely it's probably going to be used in dive compositions, like having somebody dive into the enemy team and then just pulling them out when they get in trouble. It'll be a monster for tower dives. Psychic Flare just does damage and blinds enemies. I don't know. Maybe you guys can fill me in on what the blind does. I don't know if it stops basic attacks from hitting or it's an actual field of vision blind. Either way, it will be pretty damned effective. And it does around her and the link target, so pretty sweet there. Seems like all of her abilities are based around this telekinetic link. Energy Lance is pretty much just a channeled ability that as you hit somebody, it slows them down further and further until they're eventually rooted. Hyperflux, her ultimate ability, gives her and her link a short movement speed, increased attack speed, mana regen bonus, and cooldown reduction with a mana regen of plus 75. So not only is this good to put on a fighter, you can also put it on a caster, and it's going to have some mean results. That's going to be a crazy good ultimate ability. She may end up dethroning Decker as the queen of supports, but you never know. You never know. So, Aurora, Cryocism, correct an issue which could cause Cryocism to deal unintended additional damage. Whatever, didn't really notice. Fing Mel, Reaping Dash, got a damage bonus increase, a significant damage bonus increase. However, I mean, it can no longer crit, but the real deal here is that's not what is broken about Fing Mao. Giving his escape additional damage, I don't think that's going to do much to help Fing Mao, and Fing Mao needs a little bit of help right now, I think. Gadget, Speed Gate, movement speed increased to 200 from 125, now decays over the effect duration. That's fine. That initial burst of movement speed is what you need anyway, and giving an additional 75 movement speed will help Gadget significantly, as well as anybody that passes through that speed gate. Greystone, whatever they added a new skin. Stoic has been reworked, so it no longer gives him basic attack armor and health. It now gives him a chance to block. Well, not a chance, but every 9, 7, 5, 3, whatever level it is, seconds, Greystone will block 100% of the damage for the next basic damage instance that hits him. So overall, I don't think this is going to affect the way Greystone is played at all. I think he'll be a little easier to kill, but late game, with that blocking 100% basic damage every 3 seconds, that will make him much more effective against carries, I think. That's blocking a lot. Like, you say a carry's doing 600 damage per hit. That's 600 damage every 3 seconds. That's pretty damn good. However, he's not going to have that bonus health and basic armor that he used to, so we'll see how it works out. Like I said, I don't think it's going to change the way he's played all that much. Again, Scorch, Flame Turret. Turrets now have 200, 350, 500, 650 health instead of pips, which means it actually has health that you have to damage through instead of just a set number of hits before they are destroyed. And turrets take 60% reduced ability damage. This is going to help Iggy's early game more than it will his late game, and that's the problem with Iggy right now. His early game is fine. It's the late game is where he falls off, and this is only going to help his early game. So I don't think this is going to do much for the poor malaligned Iggy and Scorch. Lieutenant Bellic, a Void Drone. Base damage reduced to 30, 50, 70, 90. Nobody ever really notices that damage anyway, although I have been killed by it several times. Power scaling's reduced, so that thing's it's just going to do less damage, the Void Drone. But now it has health instead of pips, and it does take the 6% reduced ability damage. So like throw in a Wild Growth from Faye or a Seek and Destroy from Gadget, it's not going to just instantly delete that thing anymore. You're actually going to have to go up and hit it. Kalari, these are the big changes. Crippling Dagger is moved to right mouse button, or the R1 is now a quick cast ability, so it's going to be easier to hit And the basic damage has been increased as well. So not only is it easier to hit, but it's going to hit harder. Backflip is removed. New ability, Shadow Dance. Passively provides health regeneration while Clary is in the shadow plane. That is amazing. I mean, it's not a huge amount of health regen, but it is health regen, and that is going to give her a lot of viability in the off lane. Allows Clary to jump up to 2 additional times after jumping, so she has a triple jump. And she's with a spacebar and doesn't use any freaking mana. And cooldown triple jump is decreased, so she just gives her a ton more mobility. She has a ton more mobility and more sustain through regen while she's in the shadow plane. Shadow Walk now automatically activates when Clary drops below 35% health, but it only activates every 60 seconds and only triggers if the damage comes from enemy heroes. So, I mean, if you look at the way team fights go, they only happen like every minute or two anyway, right? So she's always going to have this for a team fight at least once. So it's like having an automatic Necro Veil. That's insane. That's insane. I think that's the biggest change that's going to make her more viable. Of course, it's not going to help her out from AoE abilities or anything like that, but holy shit, that's nuts. That's like a get out of jail free card. Death Sentence added a minus 250 slow in Clary's channeling Death Sentence. It's a nice quality of life change. It's not going to change the gameplay all that much. Morgesh, her basic armor, ability armor has been reduced, and ability armor per level is reduced, so she's just a little more squishy. Whatever. Muriel, and then they be sure to remind us, we buffed Muriel by buffing shields, goddammit, so don't fucking give us shit about not buffing Muriel. So the shields now act as extra health, and they benefit from armor, so that makes shields much better. I think that is a subtle change that's going to make a huge impact. Her shields were already very good early game and then fell off late game, but as you gain more armor in the late game, the shields are also going to be a little bit better. So I think this is a sleeper here. I think this is going to make Muriel pretty damn good. Murdoch, Move Along has been removed. Static Trap has been removed. Buckshot has been reworked. So now Move Along is basically baked into Buckshot. I don't know how to feel about this, because a lot of times you don't want to move someone after you buckshot them. You want them to stay so that you can keep hitting them with your basic attacks. So this way is it's a little counterintuitive. You're helping someone escape from your basic attacks by hitting them with buckshot. So, I mean, whatever. I guess it'll take a little more decision making when you use buckshot. New ability, Hot Pursuit, and it's a passive that grants an additional movement speed when running at a visible critically wounded enemy, and the movement speed goes up per level as well as the distance that the unit has to be away. So this gives Murdoch a little bit of movement ability. I think it's just going to get him in trouble a lot of times. It incentivizes chasing kills. So we'll see how that works out. I'm sure that'll make for some funny plays on a casting call. New ability, Shots Fired, secondary. This one is worded weird. Passive grants Murdoch's next basic attack bonus range and 15, 30, 45, 60 basic penetration every 10, 8, 6, 4 seconds. And this shot can miss, and if it does, the cooldown is consumed. So it's a passive, so I guess every however many seconds you gain basic attack range and armor pen, I think. I'm not sure how that works. If you know for sure, let me know in the comments, because that is intriguing. Narbash March, movement speed increased significantly, really. And the duration is reduced to 2.5 from 3 seconds, and movement speed now decays over its duration. This is going to give him more viability to chase and to get people out of bad situations. I think this is overall pretty good buff for Narbash, who was already in a pretty good place. Richter, also, I think people may disagree. I think he's in a pretty good place. Just his ultimate needs to be reworked a little bit. But they reworked Shock Therapy. The cooldown is reduced to 12 seconds at all levels. So, small buff to Richter. Not going to change him too much, but pretty cool. Shinbi, all kill. Shinbi can now move while casting her ultimate. That is amazing. Wolf stack duration increased to 10 seconds from 7 seconds. That is fucking amazing. Rushing beat. Shinbi will no longer lose the ability to recast rushing beat after being stunned or silenced. That is fucking amazing, and is something I've been suggesting to Epic via the forums and Reddit for a while now. Line tempo and projectile speed increased. So really, this rushing beat change, I think, is all Shinbi really needed to become much more viable. But they also gave her increased duration on her wolf stacks. She can cast her ultimate while moving, which was kind of gimped her quite a bit in team fights. And the line tempo and projectile speed is increased. I think Shinbi is going to be a fucking beast now. I think she's right in line with Countess and Morigesh. I think Shinbi's going to be an excellent choice, much better than she used to be. In the right hands, she's going to be an absolute fucking monster. Steel, Force Shield has been removed, and Bulwark has been reworked. So now Force Shield has moved to Bulwark, and he just kind of puts up a smaller shield and carries it around with him. So the ability to move the Force Shield is pretty cool. And as long as it's still, as Bulwark retains its old ability to reduce single target damage to Steel, that's pretty cool. New ability, a Blade of Armor. It's a passive, grants Steel 4 stacks of ability armor. So it gets removed every time he takes ability damage, and still gains 1 stack every 6, 5, 4, 3 seconds. This timer is reset whenever he takes new instances of ability damage. Okay, so it's just a passive. He just always has this ability armor. That's going to make Steel a go-to choice as a tank for against ability damage heavy teams. So he's going to he'll probably fuck up Revenant pretty good. Even though Revenant does kind of do the crit thing, he does rely on his abilities quite a bit. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to bring Steel back in line to where he used to be, but it's a good step in the right direction. I like it. The Fae, Harvest Nettles, consecutive hits on the same target within 9 seconds deal an additional 15% damage per hit, stacking up to a maximum of 60% bonus damage per hit. I already thought Fae was a bit of a lane bully with Harvest Nettles. This makes her an absolute nightmare in the mid lane. She's going to be able to push any other mid laner right the fuck out of that lane whenever she wishes. Harvest Nettles is extremely easy to hit already, so, and it has an extremely low cooldown, and now it's going to be dealing bonus damage. Yeah, I think Faye is going to be the queen of the mid lane, and I'm happy about it. She still doesn't have much for escapes, but as long as you're careful about it, she's going to be crazy good in the mid lane. Yin, Lash Kick. Range reduced to 750 units from 950 units, so a small nerf to Yin, not that big. And Windburn, mana cost increased to 40 from 20. Whatever. Who runs out of mana on Yin, right? And the cooldown is increased, but not significantly. So, I mean, that's a small nerf to Yin, which I think she needed, but it's not so much that it's going to make Yin unplayable. I think that overall that's a good change. Now let's look at the card updates. Health per CP has been increased to 60 health from 50 health. Pretty good change. I'm a little afraid of them bringing back the tank meta from Legacy, but I think this is small enough that where it'll help, but without hurting. Basic armor per CP has been increased to 8 from 7, and ability armor increased to 6 from 4. All around good changes. It's going to lower the time to kill a slight bit, depending on how you build, of course. Weakling card pack, who cares? Hemorrhage rework is now a universal affinity, costs 6 points, 5% lifesteal, and 11 attack speed. Active. Berserk, for 6 seconds gain 44 attack speed and 80 movement speed, but take an additional 15% damage, and costs 50 mana with a 35-second cooldown. That's cool. I like that you have to make the choice there. I wish they had more cards like this. I mean, you're gonna catch somebody and you're gonna fuck them up, but you could very well get fucked up in the process. I like that. I like that a lot. Nanoplasm. Excuse me for a second. I need some water. Throat's getting a little dry from all this talking. Nanoplasm rework. Now universal affinity, costs 6 points. 6 power, 60 max mana. Passive spell vamp. The new spell vamp. Abilities heal for 20% of the damage dealt to enemy heroes, 5% against minions. Pretty cool, pretty nice little card. I like the spell vamp. It gives the casters a little more lane sustain. Tainted magic rework. Now universal. Sweet. Costs 7 points though. Gives you 12 power, 0.3 mana regen. Spell burn. Dealing ability damage to enemy heroes applies a damage over time effect that deals ability damage equal to 8% of the target's current health over 3 seconds. This effect cannot stack consecutive ability damage instances refresh duration. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. With the changes to Shinbi, if Shinbi takes Tainted Magic and she can just blast that fucking line beat out over and over again, that is nuts. I said earlier that I think Shinbi will be online with Countess. I think if Shinbi takes this card, she will be above Countess as far as your picks for your melee caster assassins. That's pretty crazy. Scout's Ward now has 150 health instead of the pips, and takes 6% reduced ability damage. So the same thing with the flame turrets and the Void Drone. Shadow Ward, same thing, 225 health. Circlet of Mana rework. Maxed passive added. Mana regen aura is now applied globally. That's pretty nuts. Circlet of Health also applied globally. So I think these two cards are going to be staples in... I mean, they're already kind of staples in your support kits, but it's usually early game, and then you fucking get rid of them. You might want to keep them now. That's pretty nuts. That's pretty nuts. Armivore. Change stat to attack speed from attack penetration. Increase mana restore per basic attack. 2/6 from 2. So decent card. Whatever. Battle Mantra. Increase bonus mana regen when above 50% to 2.4 mana seconds from 1.5. So it makes the card a little bit better. Still not fucking amazing. Hang on just a second. Let me get another sip of water. Jeez. Okay, the Blood Catalyst. Increased mana regen to 17.5 seconds from 10 per second for 10 seconds. Remove critically wounded limitation. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That will help out a lot of people that get mana starved. Charging Brute. Increased movement speed per stack to 20 from 10. Increase the buff duration to 7 from 5. Added ability to move through units during duration. That's pretty neat. So you can know you won't get stuck on fucking minions. Like, oh my god, that makes me so mad when that happens. So maybe some people start using Charging Brute a bit more than they do now. That was like a must-have in Legacy, but you hardly ever see people use it anymore. At least I don't. Empyrean Mask. Increased amount of stats granted in all forms. Power increased to 24 from 18. Basic armor increased to 14 from 10. Ability armor increased to 8 from 6. And mana regen increased to 1.2 from 0.9. This is a card I used to use on Steel in Legacy all the time. Maybe with all the changes to Steel, maybe I'll start using Steel again. Maybe I'll start using Empyrean Mask again. Who knows? It might make for a pretty good early game card. Everglass. Reduced cost to 5 CP from 6 CP. I like Everglass. I don't know if you guys know about Everglass, but it gives you, I think, movement speed on an ability hit. It's not a bad card at all. Reducing its CP cost is definitely cool. Font of Rapture. Change stats to 5% lifesteal, 6 power from 1.4 health regen and 0.3 mana regen. 4% crit chance. I'm not sure what Font of Rapture is. I think that's a... This might give Sparrow another option for lifesteal. Hinder Beast. Now works on jungle buffs, which now include the green buff. In addition to river buffs, increase basic attack slow to 10% from 5%. So nice little buff to Hinder Beast there. Incessant Onslaught. Reduces active cooldowns by 0.2 seconds per basic attack hit. Okay, Incessant Onslaught for a long time has been kind of bugged and it doesn't quite work well. Hopefully this just flat out fixes it as well as gives it a little buff. Infinity Stream, change regen value scalar from current mana to missing mana. Increase base regen value to 3.6 mana seconds from 2.4 mana per second. So a small buff to Infinity Stream. Some people use this card. I don't. Whatever. Mad Sport Sash, increase burn radius from 300 to 500. Increase damage to 12. Plus 1.5 times player level from 10 plus player level. So small buff to Mad Sport Sash. I still don't think too many people are going to use it. Mending Bloom, change stat to max mana from health regen. Increase mana regen to 6 mana per second from 3.8 mana per second for 15 seconds to yourself and nearby allies. Maybe people start using this on their supports. Nano Drive grants 100 movement speed for 2.5 seconds, 14-second cooldown. Pretty good. A lot of movement speed buffs. It seems like they're trying to make the traversing the map a little quicker for everybody. Overflowing Gifts. This is a good card. Change stat to max health from max mana regen. Increase health regen to 9.5 health per second from 6 health per second to yourself and nearby allies for 15 seconds. Okay, so nice little buff to Overflowing Gifts. It's a card, kind of a sleeper card that I like to use that this just buffs it, so that's awesome. I love it. Purity Sensor now costs 80 mana to cast. Cooldown increased to 120 from 90. So they nerfed Purity Sensor even though most people aren't using it that much anymore. This will kind of put it even more under the radar, so Aurora players rejoice. Radiant Mantle, increase burn radius from 300 to 500, increase damage to 12, and blah, blah. So just another buff to these Radiant Mantle type cards. I still don't think people are going to use them that much. Rally the Troops now costs 50 mana to cast. Reduce cooldown to 35 from 120. Holy shit. Increase attack speed buff to 33 attack speed from 22 attack speed. Again, I don't think anybody's very big buff. I don't think anybody's going to use it. Rocket Spike reduce cost to 4 CP from 5 CP. Whatever. Satori Cloak, increase the armor shred duration to 2 seconds from 1.5 seconds. Very small buff there, but it is a buff, and Satori Cloak is a pretty good card, so pretty cool. Scorpion Plate, increase duration to... How fucking many of these are there? Holy shit. I didn't realize there were so many card changes. Scorpion Plate, increase duration to 10 seconds from 6 seconds. Reduce cost to 5 CP from 6 CP. No longer shares a cooldown with Splinter Bark Vest. I don't even fucking know what Scorpion Plate does. Shockwave, reworked active, now deals 50 damage in a large radius around the hero, slowing enemies by 250 movement speed for 3 seconds. Cooldown 45 seconds. Now costs 50 mana to cast. So now not only does it an AoE slow, but it also does some damage. I don't know if that damage is affected by card scaling or not. We'll have to see. Still not in line with the old Shockwave, but might be pretty cool. Siren Song, increase the slow magnitude to 60 from 40, reduce slow speed buff duration to 3 seconds from 4 seconds. Whatever, again, I don't think anybody's going to use it any. Splinter Bark Vest, increased duration, whatever. I don't know I do not know what Splinter Bark Vest and Scorpion Blade do. I am sorry. Stab Link, reduced base health cost to 15% from 20%. Pretty good. Remove critically wounded restriction 2, but the active cannot be used if your health cost would result in a death. Okay, this is a nice little buff. Usually using it would result in your death if you're critically wounded anyway. But lowering the base health cost to 15% from 20 is a nice change to Stab Link. Stasis Gem, now a universal affinity. Everybody can use Stasis Gem. Fuck me, that's gonna change the game right there. Reduce cost to 5 CP from 7 CP. Yeah, everybody's gonna be running fucking Stasis Gem now. Not everybody, but the majority of your casters and sports are gonna be running Stasis Gem, I bet. Wicked Stigma, rework ability to unique passive. Ability hits grant vision of the target for 6 seconds. Nobody uses Wicked Stigma, but it's okay. It's especially good if you have like a Murdoch or something on your team that has that global ultimate. I just can't see people using Wicked Stigma still. Thermobond no longer activates from Decker's Containment Fence ability. Oh, really? That sucks. You could always hang on. You can always just get some health regen by bumping into her fence. Tempest Pearl. Reduced cooldown to 45 seconds from 60 seconds. Now costs 50 mana to cast. Um, that's pretty good. That gives everybody the opportunity to speed up the team, not just Narbash or Gadget. So I like Tempest Pearl. I use it in a lot of my decks. So this is a nice little buff to it, and I'm pretty happy about it. I don't like that it costs 50 mana to cast, but whatever. Trader's Touch. Increase bonus damage to 5% of target's current health from 3% of current target health. I think people are going to start running Trader's Touch. I use it in my Smurf account on Shinbi, and it's pretty damn good. I don't care about loot crate updates or the UIs and shit. Let's take a look at some of the buffs they did, some of the changes they made to like the jungle. Okay, so shield now absorbs mitigated damage. Previously absorbed unmitigated damage. So shields are just like I was talking about, temporary health. So shields are definitely buffed. Pretty cool. Core. The core encounter has been reworked. So now the core damage is no longer split among all targets. It now just deals a pulsing 110 basic damage. And the attack speed is reduced depending on how many inhibitors are destroyed. I have a rant coming out later today about fucking just killing the core. I do not think this is going to affect my rant. I think what I say in my rant is still true. So whatever. Jungle changes. Gold buff. Well, first of all, let's talk about the white camps. They're going to make them harder to kite. So you're going to take more damage from white camps when you're clearing them out early game. They reduce their overall damage and increase the CP bounty. And the Amberlink contribution is also increased. So that's pretty cool. I think this is going to make not going to make a huge difference. We'll see how much damage they can actually do. But with cards like Siphons out there, and with heroes like Kwang and what's his name, Chimera and Rampage, probably not going to make too big of a difference. It's just going to give them more CP, really. Gold buff. Replace gold buff with a gold variant of the river buffs. Grants 300 CP when killed. That is awesome. If it still gives you the gold buff, the actual buff. So yeah, if it still gives you the increased CP, that is amazing. That is amazing. Green buff. Increase the damage to reflect, but reduce the explosion damage. Overall, minor change. I don't think it's going to change the way people use the buff. Raptor Camp. Change respawn time to 5 minutes from 4 minutes and reduce the Raptor bounty from to 650 from 800. So it went from 1,000 to 800, now down to 650. So Raptors are becoming less and less important. Orb Prime. Increase the duration of Orb Prime buff to 150 seconds from 120 seconds. So they just made the Orb Prime last longer. So pretty cool stuff. Overall, the thing that I'm most excited about are the changes to Shinbi. I think Shinbi with Tainted Magic is going to be baller. I fucking love it. It's going to be great. If you like the video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you want to subscribe, click on that cute little mongoose at the bottom of your screen. For now, this is Mongoose signing off. You guys have a good one.